as I say, I hope it will be resolved. Let's wait and see.
Do you believe the economic levers are strong enough?
I think they could be strong enough. I think the announcement of the further sanctions is obviously pretty tough. I think the big long-term question for Europe is how do they get sufficient options on energy that, as it were, that doesn't mean that the action that you want to take you're unable to take because of energy dependence.
They are in some ways held hostage, are they not, by Russian natural gas?
Well, there's a large amount of the gas supplies for Europe come from Russia.
That's right.
So this is why, for the Europeans, sanctions is a far tougher thing than it is, for example, here in the US, where the trade links and
they push on
much less.
He can push back with natural gas and
right.
severely damage specifically Germany's economy.
That's true, but I think what you'll find increasingly is that Europe looks for ways of releasing itself from that dependence. And even if short-term that is difficult, I think the long-term implications for Russia are serious if Europe really sets about releasing itself from that dependence on Russian energy. Now, the best way of resolving this would be a way to resolve it diplomatically, so that in the end,
do you believe
we don't get
in your heart and in your head this does end peacefully?
And truthfully, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. But I know the alternative is going to be pretty grim for all sides.
Do you think we understand Vladimir Putin?
Well, I think it's fairly obvious. I mean, he is defined by a sense of Russian nationalism, but he has got to understand that there is a strong sense of protecting our territorial integrity on the other side of the fence.
What do you think his motivations are?
I think his motivations are to do with the concept of Greater Russia, but I think
that's what he uses as an excuse.
Yeah, but I think it's.
We've heard that excuse before in the past, and it hasn't ended well.
Sure, if you look at what he says and the build-up to this, I think there is a genuine and strong feeling in Russia. Okay, and we've got to accept that. But the fact is, whatever the strength of that feeling, you can't have a situation in which Ukraine is pulled apart in this way.
And I know you've done a lot of work with the Middle East and diplomacy. Unfortunately, Syria has sort of been taken off the front pages because of this. It deserves to be on the front pages. It's a crisis. It's a humanitarian disaster of epic scale. When does something get done about Syria?
I think when we realize that the consequences of inaction are going to be devastating.
They already have been.
Well, they are devastating, but they could get a lot worse. And the toll on the people in Syria is obviously appalling. I mean, the numbers of people dead, the millions displaced, the effect of disintegration of the country. But if it continues, for example, with us in the UK now, our single biggest security worry right now are British-born people who go and fight so-called jihad in Syria and are going to return to the UK as UK citizens, battle-hardened, battle-trained and angry. So, it's not just a question of the humanitarian toll in Syria, which is appalling and terrible. It's the long-term security consequences.
Should the US get involved militarily in Syria?
I would like to see us as not just the US, but at least go to the stage of saying, right, we are going to assist the opposition. For example, I've argued this case now for about 2 years, no-fly zones, or something that makes it clear to Assad he cannot win militarily. The truth is, it's not in the interest of any of us now that there is an outright victory by either side. You've got extremist elements in the opposition. You've got a government that's murdered large numbers of its own people and used chemical weapons. So you're in a situation now where you're going to have to bring about a negotiation, and you won't get that negotiation unless both sides know they're not going to win an outright victory.
Former Prime Minister Tony Blair, I wish we had time to get to the great work you're doing with your Face to Faith Foundation. Great stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and appreciate you spending some time with CNBC and just bombing in right on the show, which we like, by the way. We keep it loose at the Milken Conference, and I know you've got a panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Folks, that's what happens here at the Milken Conference. More all day on CNBC. Short break. We're back after this. So let's do this.
It was